Hi there, my name is Bria King, and today I'm going to be talking about the stages of relationships. Now, I want to give you a brief overview of the different stages and then be able to go more in depth. So, I've created a little sheet. Now, the first stage is initiating, and then going to experimenting, then intensifying, integrating, bonding and intimacy, differentiating, circumscribing, stagnating, avoiding, and finally, termination. Now that we have an overview of the different stages, I'm going to talk in depth about what each one means. So to begin, initiating is when you first meet someone and you start to have a conversation. You try to gain the attention of another person and you open up the lines of communication. I have examples of this attending ORU. As a freshman, I didn't know anyone besides at least one close friend, and I'd begin conversations with people. I was actively initiating contact. I felt safe because I was in control of what I was saying and doing. Now, the second stage we move on to is experimenting. In experimentation, you're gaining information about the other person and you're beginning an initial exploration of who they are and the rewards and or costs of that relationship. Now, this is also considered a socially safe place where you're creating small talk, you're seeing who this person is, etc. Now we move on to the third stage, which is intensifying. And this means that you're increasing the breadth and the depth of the relationship, and you're seeing how that person responds to you. If you have enough common interests, do they like you in the same way? Are they as attracted to you? Do they like the same things you're doing? It just means that you're having more intimate conversations and seeing what the other person thinks and feels. You're beginning to disclose your personal self. Now, the next stage is integrating. After you have a more intensifying of the relationship, you can start to integrate your activities, your interests, your schedules into a better relationship. You are integrating different parts of your life, and your relationship is starting to grow deeper and more intimate. Now, at this point, you have an option to bond and also build intimacy. This means that you're willing to establish long-term commitments. And there's obligations and responsibilities to these commitments. A common example of a bonding and intimate relationship is the ritual of marriage. Now, marriages have exchanging of rings, long-term commitments with the vows, and this is the highest form of bonding and an ongoing intimacy. Now, not every bonding stage has to be marriage, but there's a sense of a higher level of responsibility and communication that needs to happen. So now, since we know that relationships have a beginning, a middle, and an end, sometimes in the middle or the end of a relationship, something called differentiating happens. And this means that there's starting to be some conflict. There's starting to be some disagreements, and the relationship feels like it may be slipping and disintegrating. There are expressions of dissatisfaction and assertions of individuality. Now, if this path keeps going down, something called circumscribing happens. And in this stage, the deepness of the relationship and the breadth and depth reduce significantly. And boundaries and interactions kind of start to disintegrate. Now, the next form and stage of relationships is stagnating. And this means that you're either avoiding or completely cutting off that person from relationship with you. Interaction becomes awkward and sometimes formal. Now, the last stage of relationships, if it's going poorly, would be terminating. And that means you're closing all communications with and channels to that person. You are completely closing that. And it is eventually ending the relationship. So these are, to show you this again, these are the stages of the relationships. And while there are some clear-cut theories about stages, there are certain types of relationships that just happen and you don't know why and how. And I want to, thank you.